Dr. Warren, you know, you're the only person that would get me out of the bed. I was in the bed chilling on a Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. I'm like, I ain't going nowhere. But you called me and said, come on out the house, Mark. I said, okay. You know, I'm scared to come out the house with your peeps. You know that.
Well, you know, this is Chirac.
Yeah, your peeps, they something, man. But you telling me, Dr. Warren, seriously, a lot of Americans did survive the 2008, what you call the calamity, economic collapse. But a lot of folks didn't survive.
That's right.
They never gonna be the same. They money didn't recover. They housing price didn't recover. They lost their job. They got downsized. A lot of folks did not survive the last recession.
That's absolutely correct. I mean, and we're talking about not only people of color, but we're talking about a lot of middle and upper middle people. I know engineers that were making 150, project engineers at Motorola. I mean, these people were cut, and they have never got their jobs back. So I mean, they went from $150 down to $50 working in a warehouse now. I mean, where are they going to go to get a job? Because most technical jobs and most technical things now have been done overseas, especially the manufacturing process and stuff.
Dr. Warren, you're not here to tell me we're going to have another recession or a depression?
We're getting ready to have another one, and this time it's going to be a credit or sovereign market. That means bonds of nation actually collapse. And you're having the example, a good example that we had this past week. If those have not paid attention to, or you watching baseball, or you're watching Dancing with the Stars, Puerto Rico, which is a commonwealth of the U.S., they declared bankruptcy on $72 billion. That's the island down in the paradise down there. And then you got the Greece situation, which they did vote no, that they're not going to go along with the EU program.
Wait, I missed that. They just voted?
The vote just came in about 15 minutes ago.
Oh, I wasn't listening to the radio. I didn't want to be depressed. So you're saying that they voted no for the, okay, explain it to me.
For the EU program. See, the EU...
The austerity programs they don't want.
They don't want no more austerity.
But they're going to have to go to the drachma.
They have to go to the drachma, and basically that's a 50% cut.
I don't see that happen. I think the EU is going to cut a deal. They're going to say, don't leave the EU. Are they going to kick them out the EU?
I doubt it, because...
That's what I'm saying.
You got Spain, you got Portugal, and Italy. They're both for $1 trillion. They both are bankrupt. So you got 3 or 4. Those are part of the pig nations. Those nations along the Mediterranean, they are broke. And matter of fact, if you think Greece is in such a financial situation, as the great America, they say, woo, 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 USA, we are dead broke. And we are no longer great, because how can you be great when you're broke? And we're talking about the USA. And matter of fact, excuse me, our debt situation is worse off than the Greece situation, because we're talking about, $19 trillion, $19 trillion. It doesn't include Social Security and Medicare, which most, we're talking about maybe $200 trillion. It can't be paid. Take for instance Social Security. When we were kids back in the 50s, when you had 15 to 35, 40 people working, now it's down to less than 10. It can't be. Listen, and then we let the immigration in. They will not be able to support it because they get low-paying jobs. So we are in deep trouble, people. And unless people come together and determine what must be done, and not let these politicians and the corporations dictate policy to them, you'll be in deep trouble, especially the white middle class. They have set back and total confusion. The race card has been played for the last 35, 40 years. And the problem is the finance. And the finance and the job situation is extremely getting worse. And then when I mean extremely getting worse, well, let me say it this way. The financial situation is so dreadful. I mean, we're in the state of Illinois. They're talking about, here in the state of Illinois, taxes, the Social Security. Social Security has been exempt from federal income tax here in the state of Illinois. They are desperate for funds. They got $100 billion, over $100 billion unfunded liability. The city of Chicago has an unfunded liability. Police, firemen, and teacher fund, they're unfunded. The pension situation is crazy that faces us, and that's a sad situation that we're in. And few Americans, few Illinoisans, Chicagoans understand the financial situation that we are currently in, and the impact that it's going to have on their lifestyle, on their standard of living.
Well, they don't care until they lose their job. You know that.
That's the problem.
Folks don't care about none of that economic stuff you talking about too. They say all they care, as long as they got a paycheck Friday, they cool.
They're cool.
They don't care about Dr. Warren, what he talking about.
That's exactly.
But a lot of folks are going to lose our jobs, be downsized. Our pension may not be 100% there, all that kind of stuff, right?
Well,
We never know, yeah.
Well, that's for sure. That you're not going to collect your full pension. I'll tell most people that. We've been telling you back there ever since 2003 that you will not be able to collect the full because it's always underfunded and there's not enough tax money to support these underfunded liabilities. For instance, just the underfunded liabilities in the nation runs about $1.5 trillion, $1.5 trillion, and there's no way of getting that money. The states, municipalities do not have money because the jobs are not here.
And they can't print their own currency. Like Puerto Rico can't print their own currency. Right. Illinois can't print their own currency.
Right.
So they at the mercy.
They're at the mercy
of what's going down. I say that because I don't keep up with this stuff like you do because it's depressing. I want to put my head in the sand. I don't want to see it. I really don't. Like most Americans. Let me watch the ball game. I don't want to hear this depressing stuff. But I saw a flash on the internet that the IMF is threatening to put out a different currency. They're not gonna let the dollar be the currency of, you know, whatever they call it. You know.
The dollar will eventually lose its reserve currency.
The reserve currency. See, you know this stuff.
What that reserve currency means is that basically that let me say it this way so you can understand. That's basically, as far as the IMF, there's 4 major currencies that are what we call reserve currencies. That is England with the sterling. You got the EU is the euro. You got just Japan yen. You get the dollar. Those are the 4 currencies. What that means is that if you got Jamaican money, that's a joke. You can't use it on an international basis to buy any type of product. What America has in addition to the reserve currency, you cannot buy oil except it be bought in dollars. But that's changing with China and Russia, you know, moving out of the dollar and setting up their own thing on the Eastern nations called the BRICS. So they're separating themselves from us, setting up their own international and trading partners. Now, that is entirely different. So what happens, what that leads is that the dollar will eventually have to be what I call devaluated, what we call the big reset is coming. In other words, we're the largest debtor in the world. Throughout all of history, there's been no nation, including the Roman Empire, has ever run up as much debt as we have. And how that's going to do, in other words, nations do not declare bankruptcy, they devalue your paper currency. So we got about, I'd say, a 50 to 60 or 70% devaluation coming, whereby that means that they would affect everybody's lifestyle. Where you live, where you work, how you go to school, where you take your vacation at, and what you own will be determined about what you have when this event takes place and how you are set. We told people years ago to buy silver. Silver is $17. Gold was almost $2,000, now it's down to $1,100. We said, listen, get as much silver as you get your hands on. So then when this thing do fall and you go to $200 or $300 silver, you have something that your own banking system. I mean, we're in trouble, folks. I can spend the next hour just telling you what you should do. And if you got low income, you better start making sure you got some canned food. These are the things that you must do in order for what's to come, because we will have a banking holiday. As we told you, we are in such bad shape. EU is bankrupt. See, England is bankrupt. Japan is bankrupt. And China has a lot of debt situation, but they do have the goal to reboot their system. But most people have not been prepared for what's coming, even though the evidence and signs are plainly before their face.
Well, let's get back to this Republican-Democrat. If the economy collapses or we have another recession, either in 2016, 2017, the Republicans will blame Barack Obama. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
And there people buy in. Barack Obama is the reason why the country has collapsed economically. When are people going to wake up to this Republican-Democrats? I'm not saying that you don't vote, but it's bigger than Barack Obama.
Well, this thing is way beyond that. But I mean, even though he'll go away with the largest debt in the history of all presidents put together, this thing started with Bush. In his war in Iraq, that was over $1 trillion. They still have not settled. Look at the veterans. I mean, they denied these folks. These folks went over and fought for the country, and they had denied them medical benefits, playing all types of damn games. That if this was a civilian hospital, a civilian situation where you were denied the type of situation the veterans are, you go in court and sue them.
But you know, they had, I'm sorry, because they had the Tea Party rallies and they had the Occupy Wall Street, but them folks still didn't understand what they up against and what must be done.
Listen, they're very powerful people that are should I say, very powerful. Take for instance the banking system. They are holding take for instance J.P. Morgan. They have $70 trillion in derivatives. So they technically they're bankrupt. Derivatives are nothing more than bets or like insurances on securities that cannot be paid. For instance, let me say, since I'm back there, show you a quick situation. Greece has a debt of $300 billion. That's all they have. But the problem is, there is derivatives or insurances that have been placed on the bonds that people bought. So it's like you owning a house. You buy house insurance, then you go out and buy some more house insurance on the same house. You know you can only have one policy on the house, but the way the Security Exchange Commission are, you can buy, you can insure a particular, this $300 billion should be no more than $3 billion. But what happens, people have actually betted on the policy bonds failing for Greece. You got $3 trillion that have to be, settled. And that's not enough money in the world. If they default the bonds, how are the parties that had the insurance going to pay off all this money? There's not enough money in the world. The whole damn thing is totally corrupt. And I'll say this. Most Americans, especially middle-class Americans, whites, they don't understand that your banking system is a criminal operation. They're a bunch of damn criminals. And if this is a criminal enterprise, I can tell you, especially run by blacks, they would be put in jail, all assets seized, and fined. Well, you have the banks have been too big to fail. That's what we're talking about. J.P. Morgan, Citibank, Wells Fargo, the other three there, I can't think
Bank of America, right?
Bank of America.
Yeah.
Those banks have been fined over $180 billion, something like that. And then the last couple of months, they've been fined for very simple things, folks, like rigging the currency market, rigging the LIBOR market. All these markets are rigged whereby they can enjoy the inside track and enjoy huge profits. Well, then, for instance, those banks were fined like $6 trillion. They all receive felonies. A bank is on 3 years probation. Listen, but the catch is this: nobody went to jail. How can you find somebody? And if it's a criminal operation, if I got a criminal operation and running something illegal like dope, everything is seized. All assets are seized, and then I do a life in prison. But you can see then the justice situation that we're in. But getting back to the Democrats and Republicans, both parties have been, how should I say it, bought off by your major corporations. You got your international bankers, but mainly the corporations have set laws whereby you as individuals, for the people and by the people, no longer exist. Take for instance Monsanto. Monsanto says you cannot label a product and say this is GMO. They've been fighting this and undermining all this. That's an example of the same way with your money system. And everybody's talking about Republicans and Democrats. They're not going to solve jack because they never came to you and told you the truth of what the accurate situation of the country was.